This story begins with a young widow standing beside her husband's grave. She had only been married a short time, and now she was already carrying their child alone. As she knelt there crying in heartbreak, a stranger quietly walked up behind her. The man introduced himself as Clark Davis. He offered his condolences, then made a proposal so sudden that she could hardly believe it. But Marty had not even begun to recover from losing her husband. How could she possibly marry another man so quickly? Still, Clark did not walk away after being ignored. He understood this was neither the right place nor the right time, but he believed that if they married, they might be able to save each other from their own loneliness. Years earlier, Clark had lost his wife too. Since then, he had been raising his daughter Missy on his own. Without a mother's love, the little girl had slowly grown wild and withdrawn. Clark hoped a mother figure might help his daughter finally grow up with warmth and care. And when Marty suddenly found herself stranded with nowhere to go, he saw a chance to help both of them. In return, Clark promised her a warm place to stay through the winter, enough food to survive, and money for the journey home once spring arrived. Marty was tempted by the offer. But emotionally, she still could not accept remarrying so soon after losing the man she loved. She and her husband had been deeply in love. Only days earlier, they had traveled west together to start a new life. Standing on that rich land, they dreamed about the home and future they would build together. Then fate destroyed everything overnight. The next morning, their horses disappeared. While searching for them, her husband was killed. When Marty heard the news, she completely broke down. She covered her mouth and sobbed uncontrollably. She had wanted to surprise him with the news of her pregnancy, but he died without ever knowing he was going to be a father. Through tears, she buried him herself, and in the middle of all that darkness, Clark appeared like a small light. For the sake of her unborn child, and for the last piece of the man she lost, Marty finally accepted Clark's proposal. That same day she became his wife. The ceremony felt cold and awkward. Everything around her was unfamiliar. Even her "I do" sounded hesitant. And the moment the pastor announced them husband and wife, Clark's daughter Missy saw everything. The little girl instantly rejected this new mother and ran off the moment they returned home. Marty had no idea how to deal with her. Later, Clark showed her the bedroom. Although they were legally married, he chose to sleep in the barn so Marty could feel safe and comfortable in the house. No matter how kind Clark tried to be, Marty remained distant. The second she entered the room, she shut the door, collapsed into a corner, and cried herself through the night. The next morning, she overslept. Missy bluntly remarked that she had never seen anyone sleep so long and thought Marty might be dead. Luckily, Clark quickly eased the tension and gently reminded Marty that breakfast was waiting for her. Watching the father and daughter walk away, Marty devoured the food. It was the first full meal she had eaten in days. Afterward, she stepped outside and noticed a swing hanging beneath a tree. Immediately, she remembered a promise her late husband once made. He had said those trees were perfect for swings someday for children who looked just like her. The memory shattered her again. She cried for the entire day. Missy quietly asked Clark if Marty was okay. Clark answered softly, "No. But she will be." The following morning, Marty woke to the sound of horses outside. Looking through the window at Clark working tirelessly, she finally decided she should contribute something too. Clark was straightforward with her. He explained that he did not want farm work to steal all of Missy's childhood, so he hoped Marty could help with the chores and teach Missy the things only a mother could teach a daughter. But Marty had grown up in the city. She did not know how to collect eggs or milk a cow. Missy looked down on her immediately. At one point, the girl even deliberately splattered manure onto Marty, causing a huge argument between them. At dinner, Clark clearly sensed the hostility. He wanted to fix things, but he knew forcing it would only make everything worse, so he decided to let time do the work. That night, Clark came up with a plan. Wanting the two to spend more time together, he told Marty he had to leave town for work the next day and asked her to watch Missy. Without hesitation, Marty agreed, but Missy was far from easy. Before sunrise, she lured a skunk into the barn and hid herself high in the rafters. When Marty came looking for her, she nearly panicked. Still, determined to keep her promise, Marty overcame her fear and helped Missy escape safely. Then the dog ran inside. The startled skunk sprayed Marty directly. Humiliated and furious, she could not prove Missy had done it on purpose, so she endured a miserable tomato juice bath that barely helped. The moment Clark returned home, he smelled the disaster immediately. Later that night, Marty accidentally burned her hand while cooking. Clark patiently treated the wound while she apologized for ruining the pancakes. The next morning, Missy mocked her again, bragging that she could cook fried chicken far better than burnt pancakes. The comment awakened Marty's competitive side. She searched through recipe books, struggled to catch a chicken, and nearly destroyed the yard in the process. But by the time Clark and Missy came home, she had finally managed to make a decent meal. Little by little, the walls between them began to soften. One evening, Missy quietly talked about her mother. When Marty asked if she missed her, the girl simply blew out the candle without answering. The next day, Marty accidentally discovered Missy speaking softly to one of her late mother's dresses. The girl whispered that she loved her mother and missed her terribly. Hearing that heartbreak, Marty began crying too. Missy misunderstood immediately and accused her of spying. No matter how Marty explained herself, the girl refused to believe her. She shouted that she hated Marty being there and wished spring would hurry up so she could finally leave. The words crushed Marty. Feeling guilty and unwanted, she packed her things and prepared to go. That was when Clark stopped her. He admitted he had always known this moment might come. But he also believed that anything shaping a person's heart could never be wasted time. He told her that knowing Marty would help Missy become a better person someday. His sincerity made it impossible for her to walk away. After thinking carefully, Marty realized what Missy truly needed. And the answer came when she noticed the pink dress lying on the bed. That night, she stayed awake sewing a brand new dress for the little girl. The next morning, Missy stared at the handmade dress in shock. For the first time, she felt genuinely loved. Soon, everything began changing. Missy became gentler. She focused on school, learned knitting, and finally started behaving like a little girl again. Meanwhile, Marty slowly discovered joy in this quiet life too. One day while traveling, Marty suddenly suffered severe pain. Clark calmly asked when the baby was due. That was when Marty realized he had always known the child was not his. Panicked, she tried explaining herself, but Clark gently interrupted her. He admitted he was actually glad because the baby would always keep a part of her first husband alive. Clark's kindness completely shattered the last walls around her heart. Later, she followed him deep into the mountains, wanting to know more about the man beside her. Watching him sing on the hilltop, she could not stop herself from smiling. But beneath the melody, she heard sadness. Only then did she realize Clark still deeply mourned his late wife too. On the journey home, Marty found the horse she and her husband once lost. Old memories rushed back instantly. Even as snowstorms grew worse, she still followed the horse. When Clark discovered she had not returned, he rode straight into the blizzard searching for her. Desperate and terrified, he screamed her name through the storm. At last he found her unconscious in the snow. But the storm had erased every path home. Back at the house, Missy sensed something was wrong and began banging pots together loudly. The sound guided Clark safely back through the white darkness. Marty eventually woke up beside the fire, and Clark never left her side once. She apologized for chasing the horse. Clark simply answered that when something belongs to you, you fight for it no matter how dangerous it becomes. Just like how he ran into the storm for her without hesitation. As Christmas approached, Clark remembered Marty mentioning how her family always decorated trees back in the city. So despite the freezing cold, he cut down a pine tree himself and even built a cradle for the baby. The gesture deeply moved her. Soon, Marty went into labor. With the roads blocked by snow and no midwife available, Clark nervously delivered the baby himself while Missy waited anxiously outside. The moment the baby cried, all their fear melted away. Winter slowly faded. The snow melted. Spring finally arrived. And with spring came the reality that Marty was supposed to leave. But after all those months, this place no longer felt temporary. It felt like home. Clark had become happier because of her. And when he finally leaned in to kiss her, Marty pulled away, uncertain whether his feelings would truly last. Alone on the hillside, she replayed every memory they had shared. From strangers to family. Then she remembered something a neighbor once told her. Sometimes love isn't fireworks. Sometimes love arrives quietly. And suddenly she understood. Love was never supposed to feel loud. Sometimes it simply grows beside you until one day you realize you cannot live without it. So Marty decided to stay. Too shy to say it aloud, she hid a letter inside one of Clark's books. The next morning she waited for him to stop her, but he never did. Heartbroken, she finally told him she did not want to leave. Clark softly answered, "Then stay." But Marty still feared she had no real reason to. They embraced goodbye. After she left, Clark returned to an empty house and felt emptier than ever. As he packed away her things, he finally discovered the hidden letter. At that moment, he raced after her without hesitation. Luckily, the wagon train had not gone far. For the first time, Clark stopped hiding his feelings. He begged her not to leave. He asked her to stay with him and Missy forever. Marty said she needed a reason. So Clark finally said the words he had carried in silence all this time. Stay. Because I love you. With trembling tears, Marty admitted she loved him too. And maybe that was reason enough to stay. No grand speeches. No dramatic fireworks. Just two lonely people finally finding home in each other. Maybe not every love story begins with passion at first sight. Sometimes love arrives slowly, quietly, gently. And maybe the strongest kind of love is not the one that burns brightest in a single moment, but the one that stays beside you through every ordinary day afterward.